Hey, y'all, I got this question from Jimmy. Let's check that out.
Hi, Heather. My name is Jimmy Solis, and I am an artist. I love painting and surrounding myself with art in pursuit of becoming the best painter I can be. I am in a place in my career where I know it's time to start posting my art. So I was wondering if there is a strategy that you suggest that's going to help you stay on track and have the best effect on boosting the possibilities of you being discovered on Instagram and TikTok. And if you could also talk about how one markets themselves and or brand, that would be spectacular. Thank you very much.
All right, so I heard two different things here. Strategy for staying on track while having the best effect for boosting the possibility of being discovered. Say that 10 times fast. And how does one market himself or the brand? So strategy for staying on track. What I'm going to do in my response to this, Jimmy, is give you two versions of an answer. I'm going to give you, now y'all listen, I'm going to need you to really search yourself and challenge yourself with what I'm about to say. All right. There's a masculine energy answer and there's a feminine energy answer. Now, you're like, oh, Lord Jesus, here she goes. She's one of those people. Kinda, but there's also some truth to it. I love duality and a yes and, a yin yang, a balance of where we can look at more of a structural answer and then look at more of a spiritual answer to things. I think it's a yes and, not an either or. Some folks will just like, well, this, well, and other people are like, why not both? Why not both? Let's bring in some wisdom and let's also check ourselves on what is the right answer for you. Because one thing I've learned doing so many shows, I've done over 1,000 interviews with people between all the different shows that I've hosted. Yes, over 1,000. I've talked to so many people, and one thing that I know is true is the answer that is right for me is not going to be the answer that's right for you. So let's pull in a holistic answer here. I'm done. I'm sweating already. So a strategy for staying on track. Traditional advice in this is that you're going to need to establish cadence and habits. What I mean by cadence, and there's so much freaking truth to this, is that you marry your routine. This is who I am. This is what I do. I was complaining to my fitness coach the other day. I'm like, when does this lifting weights thing get easier? Because your girl here, I do cardio. I love to run. I love sweating. Something heavy, like they're like, hey, go lift that heavy dumbbell. I'm like, what? Why would I do that? No, I don't like living hefty. I get in a bad mood. I'm getting upset again. But I asked her, I'm like, when does this lifting thing get easier or better? And she's like, it just becomes a habit. And I know that in my bones, right? You know that in your bones, Jimmy. You know that in your bones, Pauline, whoever's watching this. There has to be a cadence and we have to get married to it. So that is the traditional advice. So a strategy for staying on track, you decide you're going to stay on track because this is something that I am put on this earth to do in hell or high water. My episode is going to go out at this time or that time. I'm going to post. I'm going to show up at the gym. I'm going to get up and read. I'm going to meditate. Yes, there will be off days. Yes, you will be late. Yes, things will happen. But that is the strategy. Now, that's the masculine energy vibe, and I freaking love it. I love it. It has helped me in so much. But there is also this other side to it that's just as important. This is going to really challenge some of you, but just please lean in and hear me out here. Developing a high self-awareness of your personality and your unique skill set, your unique energy. Yes, we need to be married to our goals and committed and have a cadence and a rhythm. And also, we need to have a hyper awareness around our unique makeup and how we show up in this world. I don't really like personality tests. I've really been getting into kind of some more spiritual woo. I'm not even going to tell y'all like human design, like some crazy ass stuff where you're looking at birth charts and all that. And really digging in heavy of my unique energetic makeup. So my unique energetic makeup, and I've done so many of these things and really gone in a deep dive trying to figure out how I move in this world, is although I get lit up over structure, I have to have space to create and a lot of time to think. I It's unbelievable the amount of quiet time that I need. Right now I'm spending up to an hour and a half in the morning just journaling and thinking and sitting in still and quiet. I need to have a lot of alone time. Now, with the things that I want to do in this world, I have a tendency to beat myself up over that because I should be firing on all cylinders all the time and networking and reaching out and filling every gap. Like my friend Glenn, he is one of those people that, dude, he could just constantly be talking to folks like 24/7 or whatever. And sometimes I look at people like that and I think, damn, I should be more like that. That's what success is. But there is no formula. So yes to cadence, yes to strategy, yes to putting everything together, and also understanding your unique makeup in that you may be an evening creator. You may be a morning creator. You may be the type of creator who needs to work with people. You may be the type of creator who needs to work by themselves. You may be the type of creator who needs seasonal work and a lot of rest. Or you may be the creator who needs to pump out every single day. You know what I'm saying? There's no right or wrong with that. And that's where the balance comes in of the masculine and the feminine of yes, find a cadence, find a structure and marry it. But first, understand the way that you show up in this world and build cadence and structure around that. So Jimmy, my advice for staying on track, a strategy for staying on track is get very honest, not from like an excuse perspective. Well, I just like to lay around. No, you know what I'm saying? Like a deep dive on your unique makeup. You can do some of these like human design, have some of this stuff read for you and understood about your energetic makeup. And then when you understand it, you're then responsible for it. Then you build cadence and structure around that. Boosting discoverability, you mentioned that. So the masculine energy, the traditional advice around that is in order for you to be discovered, you need to get very clear on your target audience, specific keywords. So I'm trying to reach folks who are creatives, people who are very old souls, kind of more spiritual. They're a little bit older. They have families. They're a little bit more mature. Those are the folks that I'm dealing with. They have this deep need to use their voice. They're communicators. They're storytellers. So I understand who those people are. So the masculine energy for me to be, just to increase my discoverability with them is really honing in on the keywords and the specifics of where those people are, where they hang out, what they're talking about, so I can shape my content to use those words, use that language to draw them in. So when they search for work-life balance or creative process or how to do this or that, they find me. Right. So and I could go on there's so much strategy that goes into that. So that's kind of the masculine traditional advice for that. The also to that boosting discoverability, and I'm going to get hot on this one, is you as a creator constantly returning to your lit upness, I work with a lot of folks who are just like us, just like me and you, and we go heavy on the strategy of keywords and target audience and, your unique positioning and blah, blah, blah. And all that is so good and so important. And it's also so incomplete because if somebody finds you and you're regurgitating the same shit that everybody else is regurgitating, they're not going to latch on. What people are going to latch on to, what they're looking for, what they're hungry for is lit upness, awakeness, aliveness. And I'm not talking about a personality trait. I'm talking about a deep conviction in your bones from why you're doing what you're doing. We can market to people and them find us, but what is going to keep them there? Now, this is the side of discoverability people do not talk about. Being lit up. Returning back to your passion, spending a lot of time soaking in and remembering why you're doing what you're doing, and being bold enough to be seen, to be fully seen in what you believe and what you stand for. So yes, keywords, target audience, have a plan around stuff like that. Understand the tactical side to discoverability, but also understand the side discoverability that when people find you, dude, you need to freaking energetically be able to connect with them or they're going to be out. We don't need more content. What we need is more people who are lit up. The last part is how to market yourself and your brand. I mean, that's there's so much dependent on there. It's a very, very broad question. What I'm going to do is just give you kind of a blanket idea that is taught a lot, again, from the masculine perspective and also too from feminine. And you can, if you're really getting tripped up on these words, I don't mean man versus female. I mean more structural, concrete, tactical advice versus something that is a little bit more intuitive, cyclical, heart-centered, spiritual, that type of stuff. So yes and, right? So how do you market yourself? The traditional advice, the kind of masculine energy, is that you have a structured plan that you stick to. And if you think about a line, like there's a linear path, like you start here and then you work on this and you work on that, and there's a progression of things. And that's phenomenal. And we need that because a lot of times we get distracted as creators. We're like, bing, bing, oh, there's a new app. Oh, there's a new platform. Oh, Sally told me that this works. So we get completely distracted from the plan that we have. I'm telling you, man, like an imperfect plan followed is so much better than people zigzagging all the time, which takes so much discipline, so much concentration. But again, that how do you market yourself? Freaking stick to a plan. You know what I mean? But here's where kind of the feminine energy, some of the unconventional advice around marketing is realizing you take that line and then you take the two ends and put them together, it becomes a circle. And understanding that plans are cyclical, right? Meaning that when I say stick to a plan, that doesn't mean that you're never going to change or adjust your plan. It means that you stick to it through its life cycle, and then you look at data and then you adjust. Sometimes folks kind of fall into camps where they'll stick to a plan until they get distracted, and they'll get off the plan, and they'll come back to it, and they'll get distracted, and they'll come back to it. And sometimes people, if you're like me, you stick to a plan so long that you never review it and you never change it, and you get stuck in doing the same thing over and over again and not being willing to change. So if you look at it from a cyclical perspective, a circle, you are following that circle all the way through till its natural life cycle. And so at some point you stop, you reevaluate, and you make changes, and you go through the process again, and then you stop and you look at data and you make adjustments and you go through it again. So you're sticking to something, but you have natural points of readjusting and challenging what you're doing. So I think that's an interesting way of putting kind of a masculine vibe to it and a feminine, a traditional advice, and also to an awake one, a spiritual one, where yes, you stick to it, but you also adjust, and there are cycles to things. So I was a little hesitant to put this out because it was a little bit weird talking about masculine energy and feminine energy, but man, it's the freaking truth, and it's my worldview, and I can't tell you to practice sharing your heart and your soul without me doing the same. And this is the stuff that I'm wrestling with. I don't want to go so heavy masculine energy and tactical that I lose the heart and the soul and the passion and the spirit, because I think there's something else moving in us as creators. It's not just about us. But I also don't want to go so far on that side that you're like laying on the ground sniffing a candle and you never do anything. You know what I mean? So it's like this balance, this yes and approach to it, and getting really, really clear on your gift, Jimmy, what you were placed on this earth to do, and getting very, very, very clear. Now, you can't necessarily get clear on your whole life calling, but maybe clear on what you're called in this season to do, and trusting that your intuition, that your instincts can guide you. And even if on paper it doesn't make sense, and even if you didn't hire some expensive coach, or maybe you disagree with the expensive coach that you did hire, you know the answer deep down, Jimmy, and you can trust it. And there's something else at work here. I hope this was helpful. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you drop a comment. I love you guys. I'll see you soon.